This might be the first controller that warns you when you clip your channels. So if I pull this fader up, this Moog sequence, and I start clipping, see, this fader gives me haptic feedback. It actually moves, and I can sense without even looking at the screen that, oh, okay, this channel is clipping. How cool is that? Hey, my friends, today I'm super excited because I'm about to show you an exclusive preview of the Softube Console 1 Fader Mark III. This is a 10 fader controller, and I have some amazing news for Qbase users. This changes everything. Let's check it out. Before we start, I want to say, this is very important, this video is not a review, it's a preview. And the reason why I call this video a preview is because as of this moment that I'm shooting this video, I'm using a beta version of the software, and I'm also using a prototype unit. So this is a unit that might be slightly different to what's going to be available in the production units. So please keep that in mind. Some of the features are still in beta. Nevertheless, you're going to see why I'm very excited about this. It goes without saying that this video is not sponsored by Softube. They are not paying me to make this video. They did send me an early prototype to check it out because, I would be interested, and they know that. So what is the Fader Mark III? You don't need much explanation. It's a 10 fader controller. Now, these faders are touch sensitive, and they're also motorized, but they also have something really exciting, and I'm going to explain what that is because they have haptic feedback as well. When it comes to the motorized part of these faders, I'm just going to shut up and I'm going to show you how they react and how fast they are, how quickly they get into position, and the sound that they make. So let's try that. They're surprisingly fast. Next up, let's talk a little bit about the build quality and the feel of the unit. What I really like about this is that it's sleek. It's not tall, it's not bulky. It looks elegant. The design is beautiful. I love the design of this unit. The screens are amazing. See all the screens. You can see a lot of information. You can see the level. You can see the name of the track. You can see the panning. And also, I'm going to come into this. You can see the color of your channel on the screen, but also on these buttons right here. And this... you're going to be very happy about this. There's a knob here that if you're familiar with the Console 1 Mark III, it's exactly the same knob. So again, it's touch sensitive. But now let's dive into Qbase and let's talk a little bit about what's so special about this controller and why I'm so excited about it. Even though some features are still in beta and they're not finalized. Let me show you. So let's see what we can do. I'm in Qbase, and as you can see, I can immediately control my channels like this. You would expect that it would do that, right? Of course, yes, you would. But if you know how this system works, if you're familiar with the Console 1 Mark III, you will know that you have to add a plugin on every channel in Qbase in order to get the communication going between the channel and the actual controller. But if you take a look in Qbase, you will see that I have not even one single Console 1 plugin loaded in my session. And this is where things get really exciting for us Qbase users, because Softube cracked the code, and now you can actually launch Qbase, load your session, and immediately this controller works with Qbase. You can actually control it without loading a single plugin inside Qbase. It goes without saying that I love the Console 1 plugin and it's my channel strip of choice, but you don't need to use it to control Qbase. This is a plug-and-play controller for Qbase as it is. Now, I want to say something here because I know you're going to ask, and if you're here for a long time, you know that if I didn't mention this, you would be screaming at me. I know who you are. Does it follow the channel selection? Yes, it does. Let's have a party. Okay, let me show you. I'm here on channel 2 in my session. Let's go and go to, I don't know, channel 45. Okay, I'm going to click on it and check what happens to the faders. They jumped. They jumped, which means that this fader controller is the first controller in the history of mankind, apart from the CC one-to-one, that can actually follow the track selection in Qbase without loading a plugin on every channel. This is an excuse for a party, I have to say. Look at this. Let's select this one. It follows the channel selection. There you go. Let's go like this. No plugin loaded. The other thing that you will see is that not only it follows the channel selection, but we can see the color of the channels on the screen and here on the buttons. You can immediately see where you are, and you can judge by the color of your channels. If I'm at my guitars, for example, I can see the color and immediately, and also very fast, see that? Now, there is one limitation, at least with the version that I'm using right now, because it's still in beta, and I think this supports up to 100 channels in Qbase. Obviously, for me, this is not ideal because my projects will go way over 100 channels most of the times, but still, I see that this is happening. This is happening, and I'm very, very happy about this. Now, what else can we do? We can, of course, change the panning, and I can go here. Let's go for another channel so that you can see it, maybe here. So see, I can control the panning like this very, very quickly. This is great. You can see that also the console 1 channel follows as well, and I can even change the volume on the console 1, and the fader will follow right here. The other thing you can do is you can bank by banks of 10, or you can actually bank per channel, so one channel at a time. So let's say we can now see channels 1 to 10, and I want to see channels 2 to 11. I can go shift, and I can scroll per channel. So now I'm scrolling one channel at a time instead of 10. So that's also something that's very thoughtful, because sometimes banking by 10, it might be that some channels might be on the next bank, and some other channels that maybe are drums and they should be on the same bank are not happening to be on the same bank. So that's really cool. What else can we do? Again, without loading the plugin. Remember this, without loading the plugin. I can flip those faders. See, I have a fader mode here to pan mode. And now, basically, these faders control the panning. So if you check what I'm doing here, I'm panning all these channels to the right or to the left. Same with these ones. I can also turn these faders into send mode, and this way I can just adjust the faders like this, and I can control the sends. So I have send 1, send 2, let's go like this. And as you can see, right now this is still in beta, so there's a little bit of latency, but it jumps eventually. So I guess this is going to be fixed with upcoming versions. So if I go to from volume to send, see, I can have these faders very quickly control these parameters. Now here's where this controller is a game changer in my opinion, especially when you want to mix with your eyes closed. These faders have haptic feedback, which means two things. Number one, if I set my fader to unity gain, you will feel, I don't know if you will be able to hear that. Let me try. Hear that click? So the fader actually gives you a haptic feedback that you're actually at unity gain. Check this out. Even if I don't look at the faders and I have my eyes closed and I just pull them up, hear that? I can immediately sense that I've set my faders to unity gain without even looking at the faders. How cool is that? And this goes for the panning as well. So if I'm here and I want to pan, I can immediately sense when I am at the center of my stereo field. So right, left, and then, oops, now I know I'm at the center. It's very, very useful. And honestly, I've never seen a controller do this. And it doesn't stop there. This haptic feedback is also going to let you know if a channel is clipping. So if I pull this fader up, this Moog sequence, and I start clipping, see, this fader gives me haptic feedback. It actually moves. and I can sense without even looking at the screen that, oh, okay, this channel is clipping. In case you're going to ask, yes, you can disable this in the settings. I would not disable this, to be honest with you. I always like to keep my channels clean, and I want to do my gain staging right. And honestly, if this is an indication of clipping anywhere, this is a hugely important aspect of this controller. It goes without saying that if we want, we can solo or mute channels like this. We have the solo and mute buttons here. These are bread and butter stuff, so I'm not gonna bore you with this. But for me, the fact that you can go from volume to panning to sense is amazing. At this stage, I want to say I would really like to see access for all sense. Why not? So Softube, if this could happen in the future, this would be amazing. Of course, if you want to use the Console One plugin, I'm going to load it right here on one channel. You can do this, and of course, this way you get even more integration and even more control over your channel. And what you can also do is you can select any parameter from Console One. For example, right here, I'm using my high shelf gain, and you can actually go parameter here, and you can use the fader to control that parameter. If I want to say control the attack using my fader, I can control the attack here. I can click on the parameter button here, and immediately this fader controls the attack. And of course, the communication is bipolar. If I use my Console One, the fader is going to move. If I use my fader, the Console One LEDs are going to move, as well as the parameter in the software. I can control all the channels, whether they have the Console One plugin inserted onto them or if they don't have it. The other cool thing that I really like with the Fader Mark III is that you have this fader trim button right here. So if you press this, you will see all the faders go into the center position. Now I can trim the faders, all of them. Let's say I want to lower the volume of all the channels. So maybe like this, but retaining their relative positions. See that? If you check Qbase, I'm just trimming instead of having to figure out, oh, okay, I have to do this kind of thing. It's very, very hard to do. I can hold it again, it's gonna go to 0 again, and then I can do my fader movements. And this reminds me the workflow of an analog console with motorized faders. I want to stop the video here because, like I said, this is going to be a preview video. If you want a full review, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm going to keep working on this, especially when the release firmware comes out and the software, and of course, once I get a production unit, because this is, again, like I said, a pre-production unit. But some things that I would like to suggest and some things that I would like to see are the following. Number one, I would love to see the integration with Qbase take full effect. Yes, there's a little bit of latency here and there, you know, with the sense, but I think this is still work in progress. But I'm very optimistic because this has never been done by another controller, so it shows us that this is possible, and I have to applaud Softube for doing this and giving us this integration that we were craving for in Qbase. The second thing I'd like to see would be to have a MIDI CC mode for these faders. So one button somewhere where I can switch these faders into CC mode, and this way I can control sample libraries, I can control synths, I can have this as CC1, CC11, CC74, and so on and so forth, and I can create templates. Please, Softube, give us templates for this, user customizable templates, so that we can actually use this as a MIDI controller as well. And film composers are going to love this, because film composers want their faders to control their channels, but also want faders to control CC messages. So the faders are there, we just need a mode. The third thing that I would like to see, and I said this in my previous video, now that this integration is out in the open and it works, how about we make also the Console One channel fully compatible with Qbase, so the input gain controls the pre-gain in Qbase, the low-end cut filters control the low-end cut filters in Qbase, this controls the envelope shaper, the gate, the de-esser, this controls the EQs, this section controls the compressors, and this section controls the saturation and the limiter. Softube, you've done an excellent work here. please expand, give us more options, because this is the first time I'm so excited about a controller. I really hope this is going to happen. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about this controller? How do you feel about the Qbase integration? I'm extremely excited about this, and I'm really excited to see how Softube are going to develop this and what other things are going to add. Let me know in the comments down below if you want me to make an in-depth review. And if you want to support the channel, you know what to do. You can always check out my Modern 80s Kit Max, or you can check out the new courses that are released, 3 mastering courses, mastering in Qbase, mastering in the box with full tips and tricks with all the best plugins and tools in the industry, and also the analog hybrid mastering, where I show you how to master using analog gear inside your DAW. Thank you so much, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.